Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this last episode of the Workers' Voices at the 111th session of the International Labour Conference here at the Palais des Nations in Geneva. We are living today a historical moment. Delegates from all parts of the world just adopted a new recommendation concerning the quality apprenticeship. Historically, apprenticeship has been considered primarily as a means of facilitating the school-to-work transition for young people. However, in the context of fast-changing world of work, the apprenticeship model is empowering both youth and older workers to acquire new skills, reskill, and upskill through their working lives. My name is Mamadou Kabasware. I'm the head of communication and publication at ACTRAV. And today I'm very pleased to welcome Amanda Brown. She is the workers' spokesperson of the Standard Setting Committee on Apprenticeship. Good afternoon, Amanda, and welcome to this Workers' Voice. My first question to you will be to know, as you know, the ILC just adopted this new recommendation on quality apprenticeship. In your view, why this instrument is very important for workers?
Thank you very much, Mamadou. Very good to be here. So yes, we're really delighted that the instrument has just been adopted. The conference has voted overwhelmingly for the instrument, and we think it will make a real change in the landscape at national level, as well as obviously what we have set internationally. So I would say, first of all, most broadly, it's great to have a real focus on apprenticeships and to really give a new impetus to what they do and how well they can work. As you said, they are part of the pathways from school to work. But much more broadly than that, as well as people who want to upskill and reskill, it's also important to remember that apprenticeships often offer much broader access to people who perhaps have been excluded or faced barriers to completing their education. So we know that around the world, for example, too many people leave school early because of poverty, because they have to earn money. And apprenticeships can offer a route back into reskilling. It's paid, it's on the job. So just the focus on apprenticeships is positive. Secondly, of course, the instrument that we have agreed provides particular rights to apprenticeships and to apprentices, and sets out a whole framework of how they should be treated, and really sets ambitious standards for that, to raise standards and raise quality. I also think it's important to mention that the recommendation covers the situation of those who at the moment are not in formal apprenticeships. So we have a lot of informal apprenticeships around the world where people are learning skills, they master a craft, they become very expert in that, but they're not given access to educational opportunities outside the workplace. And the recommendation speaks to that as well. It says to move from informality to formality is very important, and offers guidance for how that might happen. And one final point to mention is that the recommendation sets out that it's really important that apprentices and the workers who are already in the workplace, there should be a balance in terms of numbers. That's important both to make sure that apprentices can get good training, that people have the time to invest in providing their skills, but also to make sure that apprentices don't replace workers to any extent. They should be an investment to raise standards, to grow the skill base of the host employer, and we think it's important, therefore, to keep that balance in numbers. So I think that's 4 good reasons why we think this is really positive.
Yeah, you talk about the idea about the acquisitions of new rights for apprenticeship. As you rightly said, a key component of this new ILO instrument is the protection of the apprentice. In your view, what are the main benefits? If I am an apprentice, what are the main benefits for them from this instrument?
Well, we're really pleased. We have a special title in the recommendation which sets out those rights, and it includes some very important things, as well as the rights that apprentices already have because of international labour standards but may not know about, such as, for example, rights to freedom of association, to collective bargaining. These are specifically referred to, not new rights, but it's important that that apprentices and employers are made aware of these. There are also other things which will feel very important on a day-to-day basis. So pay, for example. The way that it's expressed in the recommendation is that there must be adequate remuneration or other financial compensation, but really we're saying they must be paid and paid adequately. They must have limits to working hours. When we did some research, we found that sometimes apprentices were asked to work extremely long hours, and often not at the kind of jobs and tasks that would help with their training. There are sadly some examples of exploitation, so we thought it was important to make sure that that was set out. And then a whole raft of other rights that you would expect to be in place in any workplace. So rights to leave, to maternity, paternity, parental rights, to social protection, to occupational safety and health, to compensation if there's an injury, all the kinds of things that any worker expects when they're in the workplace. And we're really delighted that both employers and governments thought that these were very important.
So after the adoption of a new instrument, the major challenge is its implementation, the promotion and implementation of this instrument. So the recommendation provide a lot of rights to apprenticeship. But after the adoption, in your view, what could be the role of workers' organizations to protect apprentices and also ensure equality and diversity in quality apprenticeship, in particular for youth who are the most represented in this group?
Well, the social partners and working organisations, of course, the recommendation writes their role into every stage of the development of the framework. So there will be a public body set up, and workers' representatives as well as employers will be on that body and participating in it. They will be able to set how the framework works, what it applies to, what kind of structures are in place. They will be asked about the standard provisions, such as how long an apprenticeship might work, how long it might last, and how it works. So we think that workers' organisations will really be key to making that work and to make it work as they can represent the interests of apprentices, but also of the other workers in the workplace. And they bring, of course, real life expertise that they are gaining every day in their work. So this will be really critical. It's also important, we think, that unions will want to think about how they also ensure that apprentices feel that they are welcomed into unions themselves. So as well as promoting the actual system in the national system, unions will want to respond to the needs of apprentices. We know, again, in some bad examples, that apprentices have been told by employers or by government that they can't participate in unions, can't join, can't be part of the collective bargaining machinery. And this recommendation makes clear that that's not the case. So we want unions to feel that they can make sure that they are opening their services and welcoming apprentices into that. And also, I should mention that there are some places in which unions are very much involved themselves in supporting apprenticeships. So they work together with employers to promote the apprenticeship program, to be part of it, perhaps to provide mentors for apprentices so that they can not only have training from someone on the particular skills involved, but also a much more wide and general familiarization with the workplace. So we think workers' organizations, and we hope that they will have the capacity to really look into this and promote this. As I said, you mentioned equality and diversity, and it's so important. And we think unions can be a really constructive partner in that to ensure that the message is getting out to those who might not otherwise have the opportunities to do this and might not have seen the opportunities that they could make the most of through this. So we think workers' organisations, again, will be very much part of the process of promoting apprenticeships and ensuring the broadest access that we can get.
So we are coming to the end of this conversation. Let's imagine that we have one apprentice who are watching this video from one part of the world. What could be your takeaway from this interview for him when we are talking about this apprenticeship after the adoption of this new instrument? What are your takeaways?
well, I would say to them that they should be knocking on the doors of trade unions, of employers, of the government. There really should be a voice saying there is now a structure, there is a recommendation with good guidance to governments, but also to employers and workers' organisations. So I'd say to her or to him, look into that, find out what they can offer you, and keep pressing for this to be put in place. Many governments have told us that they are really keen to start looking to these aspirations in the recommendations and moving forward with it. So we really hope that we'll be getting news back very soon that that's happening. The ILO office is developing their toolkit and their action plan. So I think keep looking for that, keep pressing for that, and work within youth organisations and anywhere else you can find to be calling on the government to make sure that this really does move forward as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much, Amanda, for these conversations. So after the adoption of this ILO instrument on the quality apprenticeship, now it's time for actions. Actions by promoting and implementing this new instrument, as my guest said here. So just to remind you that Amanda Brown is the worker spokesperson of the Standard Setting Committee on Apprenticeship. That's it for now, and we hope to see you very soon for the new episode of the Workers' Voices. Thank you, and bye-bye.